Hello, Andy. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today and coming into the studio. I haven't really had many studio guests, so it's great to have you in. How are you?
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much for having me. No, I'm excited to talk about my journey in football. You know, it's nice to reminisce. I think go over some good things what happened.
Yeah, I'm sure there's many special memories which we'll come to. But for me, I always like to begin with people where it all began for them. So where did football begin for you when you were younger?
I think it was probably a mistake that my mum ended up taking us to football. My brother was a couple of years older than me, and he decided to try down at at Martin Juniors, and my mum took me along just to get me out of the house. I think I was probably annoying her at the time. My dad was working over here, so it was. I went there, kicked the ball around, joined in with a players who were a few years older than me, and I found out I was pretty good at something, and which is nice, you know. But at the time, obviously, teams didn't have as many players. We didn't have enough age groups, so I went along, did a bit of training, and then until I could find my own age group, I got an opportunity to go and play, which was pleasing. And looking back, I didn't really look back after that.
And did everything else kind of take a back seat after you discovered your love for football? Kind of, that was what you wanted to do, and you were determined to succeed at that.
Yeah, I think probably at 13, 14, I was driven. I realised that doors were opening. I think I seen opportunities. I seen obviously my brother was going into that YTS kind of stage, and I realised what I wanted to do. And education took a back seat to probably the annoyance of parents and especially school and stuff. But I wanted to be a footballer. You know what I mean? I watched a lot of football. I go to a lot of games. I was a Middlesbrough supporter, so for me, I had a dream, and I wanted to live that ultimate dream, really.
And you certainly did do that playing for Middlesbrough. But how did that come about, joining the youth setup as a young kid?
It's a little bit different back then than it is now. So we got scouted by Ron Bourne, Keith Noble, who were in control at the time, and we signed schoolboy forms, which was 14 to 16, and then if you got lucky enough to get offered a YTS, which is a scholarship now, and then you move from there. So at 14, I signed schoolboy forms at Middlesbrough. I'd been to Southampton a couple of weeks before, so I think the talks were that I was going to go down there and sign similar contract down there, but I was a Middlesbrough fan. I wanted to sign for Middlesbrough. You know, it wasn't a threat that I was going down there. I went down there because doors weren't opening. I wanted to try. I wanted to live that dream of being a footballer. So when Middlesbrough came calling, it wasn't a case of haggling for anything. I wanted to sign for Middlesbrough.
Obviously, the team you supported as a kid, and then I'm sure it was like you said, dream come true when Middlesbrough came calling. No decision after that. Just signing.
No, it was a no-brainer. Listen, I was a regular at Ayresome Park watching Bernie stand in the Holgate and celebrate his goals. I was a big John Hendry fan, big Stuart Ripley fan, and the way they played with pace, it was similar to the game that I had, the attributes that I had, and I wanted to follow suit. You know, my dream was to play at Ayresome Park. I wasn't lucky enough to do that because obviously they moved to the Riverside in my first season. But listen, I wouldn't change anything for the world. That's not a regret. It's just I went to games watching there. I went to games to emulate my heroes and to class some of those guys that I've mentioned as friends now instead of people that I looked up to is really surreal.
Because you, of course, John Hendry, I'm sure he was coming towards the end of his time as you broke through, but I'm sure you crossed paths with.
Yeah, we did. Listen, I was there for his final 2 goals at Ayresome Park, and you know what I mean, we still talk about it. It was a game that really excited me about my journey because I knew I was going into football straight after. He was still in and around the football club at the time before we left. He tried to sign me as a manager when he was Barnsley manager, which didn't go down well when I didn't sign for him. But listen, there's different journeys we go down, but no, he was one of the reasons why I wanted to wear that red shirt and wear it with pride, because he wasn't a Middlesbrough fan and a Middlesbrough boy, but he wore that shirt with pride and really put a shift in every time he played, which is, as a fan, it's every person's dream, you know.
We hear so many people speak fondly of him, and he's actually been on here before, and lovely guy, great guest, and he certainly had many fond memories in a Borough shirt, and I've heard plenty of funny stories as well regarding him and Bryan Robson.
Yeah, no, listen, as a man and a person, I can't speak highly of him. You know, he helped me as a young player. Like I say, he tried to sign me. It just didn't work out. I ended up going to Sheffield United instead of Barnsley at the time because of the link with Bryan Robson and Steve Bruce. But I know John held a grudge a little bit. But listen, it's football. It was one of those things. But as a player, oh, wow, you know what I mean? The goal he scored against Millwall at Ayresome Park, and some of the things, the way he used to dribble, his pace, his goal scoring, you know, every club he's been at, he's a legend as a footballer, and I can't thank him enough as a person. Things he's helped me with. So yeah, I really, really appreciate everything he's done for me.
There's one special player I want to mention. His name's Craig Haley. He set us up with this today. What was it like playing with him?
We've got a special bond, me and Craig. Listen, we've known each other for probably 30 plus years, and the bond of families has always been strong. Like I say, we didn't go to the same school together, but we played each other for county, played against each other for clubs and stuff, and the bond's always been there, the friendship's always been there, and it's thicker now than it ever's been. It's been great. You know, I even went over to Singapore when Craig flew over to ply his trade over there, so our friendship goes back probably further than a lot of people realise. He's just a genuinely good guy, you know, and I know he's a true family man, and our family's really close, so our friendship's great, and we formed a really good partnership, got some really good goals together. We were lethal together, I'll be honest. That's not just because I'm saying it, and my friends together, we were very dangerous, playing for Langbar at the time, which was obviously Cleveland.
Yeah.
And for other clubs, so you know, we've got a really good relationship on and off the pitch, which is really important, I think.
Yeah, I think friendships and team chemistry does go a long way in football, especially because I think some of the best teams now are a team together, rather than like some of the teams that have prima donnas and sometimes don't exactly. Because we've seen an example of that with the Manchester United team that had a lot of people who kind of wanted to be the best man, but didn't really work out because the team chemistry wasn't there.
No, totally. And I think if you've got people in your team who you respect and you like, you go that extra yard, so to speak, that extra mile for them, and you're not an individual, you're a team, and as long as the team wins, it never really bothered either of us who scored the goals, as long as we won the game and we got the goals, you know, as a partnership, you know. And you know, I mean, when we both scored, it was great, but when either or did it, then so be it. Didn't really care.
Yeah, sounds like a deadly front two.
It was.
Coming out of the Middlesbrough Academy, how did you get the call up that you were going to be part of the first team then, Andy, going forward?
Well, obviously played youth team football, reserve football, and wanted to emulate, wanted to get those opportunities. You know, as a young player, I'd seen Jan Fjortloff come in, Chris Freestone just ahead of me. Nick Barn came in, Janino came in, so you'd think chances would have been limited. And every time I played for the reserves, youth team, I always made sure that I gave my best. I wanted people to notice and see my attributes. And we sometimes got an opportunity to work on first team games and do jobs, put kit out with Alex Smith and do boots and stuff. And I just thought it was my time. And we played Sheffield Wednesday on Good Friday. I was still 16. Had pre-match meal with the players. Sat down for the pre-match talk just at the back like I'd done previously. And when the manager named the team, he named the subs, and when he named my name on the bench, I was a little bit like, I just looked at John Pickering, who was sat next to me, and John just put his hand up on my shoulder and just said, "Listen, this is your time. You deserve this opportunity, and go and enjoy it." Your family know all about it, which is a shock to me because obviously they kept it from me, which is great. You know that the whole club had done it properly. And yeah, really excited. I remember the game that, you know what I mean, Chris Freestone got his goal, and then I've stood there waiting to come on for an. It felt like an eternity for an age, and I think I got about 6-7 minutes, and it was the best 6 and 7 minutes. I had made a few good touches, and just the whole environment just gave me such an appetite to go and do it again. I was so hungry to play again in front of the crowd, and proper crowd, Sky Sports, and everything about being a footballer at that time was just exciting.
It must have been a very proud moment. And was there any kind of daunting element to it, only being a 16-year-old?
I think probably looking back now, yes. But at the time, I think you don't have any fear. I didn't have any fear. I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I was excited. I wanted to go and get to touch the ball. I wanted to make a run, and I wanted the fans to be excited of a local Middlesbrough player, Middlesbrough boy, Middlesbrough fan, getting on that pitch and playing for their club, wearing that shirt with pride, like all the players did. But I think with the younger players, there was always that special element of pride and stuff. And you know what I mean? When I got the opportunity to do it again a couple of weeks later, there's no prouder player than Andy Campbell to wear that red shirt.
Yeah, I think we do see that as well, especially with Middlesbrough Football Club. When a youth player does come through at our football club, it is the fans are proud and do back them along the way. And I guess you kind of said they kept it from you as well, which kind of helped, I imagine, because you didn't have time to overthink it and then think what could potentially.
Yeah, I think that was probably the key. I think if I'd known about it, maybe I would have thought about it the night before or the day before, and it would have caused probably a few more issues for me. It happened again when I made my full debut 2 weeks later at Anfield. That mum and dad heard Bryan Robson rang me mum and dad and told me that I was going to start. I did think I was going to be sub. Obviously, Brian had told me mum and dad that I was starting, so I went there thinking I was going to be sub and probably going to get on 5-6 minutes, which was exciting, you know. But to start a game at Anfield, Ian Rush's last game, we did a guard of honour for Ian Rush, playing against Neil Ruddock, Jamie Redknapp, Robbie Fowler, Ian Rush, you know, those excellent players. We had a really good side. To play at Anfield at the Cop, you know what I mean, it was just a dream come true. And you know what I mean, those moments that that no one can ever take away from you, you know. So as a Middlesbrough player to go there, I think we got beat 1-0. Stan Collymore scored just as I came off, actually. So I think it was 0-0 just as I was playing. But I can't remember much about the game, but just those moments of standing there and things that really special.
I know there's a special story that comes with this one as well regarding the shirt, and Robbo having to borrow it from a member of the crowd.
Yeah, well, for me, the game nearly didn't happen. If it wasn't for the gaffer to go outside and go and borrow a shirt, who I've only just recently got in touch with me. So basically, the kit man was kept in the dark of my debut as well. So it was away. We were wearing the blue. So I didn't have a shirt with a name on the back. So basically, the gaffer had to go get special permission by the Premier League first to get a blank shirt, which they agreed. So then the manager had to then go into the crowd to go and get a blank shirt. No one would really give their shirt away, so he swapped his shirt with their shirt. And luckily enough, like years down the line, 25 years down the line, I've obviously met the bloke, and there's a rumour that I give him his shirt back, which is untrue. I've still got that shirt myself. He's still got Bryan's shirt, so he can have that, which is fine. But I've still got mine because it's a shirt which, yes, it might be in somebody else's, but I wore it at Anfield, and you know, it's a shirt which is just so true to myself that I can't give up.
It's probably the most important shirt from your football career, I imagine. That
full debut, Anfield. You know, I mean, there's loads of boxes there that ticks in terms of it being so important. But listen, I'm a Middlesbrough fan, and I think if I wasn't, it might not be as special. But it made it even more special with the story behind it as well. You know, so I really appreciate what obviously the gaffer did and what the club did for me. But you know, I mean, obviously what the supporter did for me as well, which is really important. You know, because it could have been anybody, and I do think there's a couple of people who have told me sorry that they refused. Didn't really believe of what was going on and stuff. So that's a big regret for them, I think.
How did it feel when you finally managed to track? Was his name Graham?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
When you managed to track him down on Twitter the other month, that must have felt good finally.
Yeah, well, it was his stepdaughter. I think they got married. So she messaged me and that's how it started. And it was really exciting because you know, I mean, I have tried to find people from different moments of my football career. It was always just nice to have that conversation with him and just say thank you, you know, because he's played a huge part in the story that I tell with my football career, you know. And you know, I mean, I know that's not a usual story, but it's made my story a little bit more special.
Yeah, especially with having a blank shirt as well.
It stands out, you know, because when you see the guard of honour for Ian Rush numbers, and then there's just me plonked in the side, just a skinny little boy standing there with no numbers, makes it stand out more, and it makes it look probably that I didn't meant to be there, wasn't supposed to be there, but no, I was part of it, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure there'll be many Premier League players who've had a blank shirt before.
I don't think it's happened again. I don't think it's happened. Apart from a blood shirt and stuff, which happened, but I mean, at the start of a game, you know, I think it's because I'm just so happy that the Premier League give me the opportunity to play, you know.
What was it like playing against Razor at the back? Because he's somebody that's come on and helped me a lot. Because I initially did a podcast with him, and he managed to get in contact with like some of his people, like Jamie Redknapp and Alan Shearer, who he'd of course played with, and made them come on and did episodes with them. And he helped me massively really develop this and take it further. So I've got a lot to thank him for. Of course, he's known for a bit of a reputation on the pitch of being a bit of a rough man. Did you witness any of that as a striker against?
I witnessed it all. You know what I mean? I can only thank him because I think he taught me so much in 70 minutes of a game of football that I realised that it's not friendly anymore. It's men's football, and he stamped his authority out in that game, and I really respected him for what he said to me during the game, what he did to me. He did everything to me. He pinned me down. He grabbed hold of me. He did everything to me that probably shouldn't have done, but he was stamping his authority. And after the game, when he came in the players' lounge and thanked me for the game, told me how well I played, how respectful he was, and I can't thank him enough to give me an honest opinion. You know what I mean? And he said, next time I play against you, I'll make sure you don't get past me, quite viciously. And he was good to his word. I've played against him a couple of times since, and listen, it's football, and you know what I mean. It made me smile, it made me laugh, but it made me realise that that football is a man's game, and if I wanted to play as a man, I needed to go up very quickly, and I was thankful for him that, because it is a game, end of the day, and it's a game that you want to win. It's a game full of winners, and he was certainly one of those.
I'm sure he's probably the biggest picture of what you come up against in a man's game.
I think that was a be all and end all, you know, and I think if I'd been put in against somebody who wasn't that rough and tumble and that someone who's aggressive, that I probably wouldn't have realised and been thrown in the deep end that much. But the manager believed in me to stick me into that kind of environment and put in the lion's den, so to speak. And he was a huge competitor, and someone who I think when I look back at his moments in his life and his career, and I think that he made me grow up very quickly.
What was Robbo like to play under? Because, of course, he's got such a reputation at the football club. You witnessed his time in charge. What was that like?
Listen, I can't speak highly enough of him, and people sometimes say because he gave me that opportunity and he didn't give some others, and I get that kind of vibe. But listen, he was like my dad in football, that he would give me a kick in the backside when I needed it. He would put his arm on my shoulder. He'd see me upset. He'd see me happy, and those kind of moments when I'm at football, that he would give me everything that I need, advice. He'd been there with the class of '92. He'd seen all those kind of players come through, so he knew how important young players were for the football club, and for him to give me the opportunities that he gave me, I can't thank him enough. And broke my heart the day that he decided to resign. I'm not going to lie. It was like just something of me was just lost when I heard that he was going to resign. And for me, I didn't last too much longer once he left, because the whole dynamics of me seemed to change, and my love for the club a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I don't think I had the appetite and enthusiasm to go and fight again to try and earn a place from Steve's remit and try and do that. And for me, the best decision was to move on once Bryan left.
Before we move on to obviously a few loan spells away from Middlesbrough, did you? I know you were only very young at the time, but did you ever witness anything off the pitch with Robbo?
Yeah, plenty. Yeah, we
Heard a lot of stories.
Listen, we played hard on the pitch, but we partied probably harder off the pitch.
Yeah.
There was a big drinking culture, which got us, him, everyone else into quite a lot of trouble majority of the time. And listen, Christmas Eves, New Year's Eves, you know what I mean, Christmas parties, end of season parties, you know what I mean, everything revolved around drinking. I don't think I've ever come across a group of people who could drink alcohol the way that they drunk it. It taught me a lot in a younger age, and that's probably why I could probably handle me drink more than a lot of other 18, 19, 20-year-olds at the time. And listen, they were super people, though. You know what I mean? That they realised the limits. They realised that we could party hard at the right times, but we were able to put the shift in for the club when it was required.
Is there any stories that stick out in particular?
I remember there was one. I think it was New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, we trained as we do. I think they all went after we came back. We were training New Year's Day, so we were allowed to have a drink, but we didn't have a game till the 3rd. And I think I came into training, drove, and the gaffer's car was in the same place that it was, and he was fast asleep, laid in his car. Didn't come to training. I think he woke up just after dinner, just as we were leaving. It just made me think, you know what a man, that he knew what he could do when he could do it. But we had so much respect for the man, and he was just a genuinely nice guy as well. You know what I mean? But he had the utmost respect for every player, and he could attract world class footballers to our football club.
Looking back for you, it must have been such a proud time being a part of that Middlesbrough team, which is probably regarded as one of the greatest in the club's history, although there might not have been as many trophies as McLaren. Of course, he won the Carling Cup, but footballing wise and the way the team was, I think a lot of people do look on that as the best era.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, any manager who can attract Janino, Ravanelli, Emerson, Boxic, Festa, you know what I mean, Barnby, Paul Merson.
Yeah.
Listen, you know, I mean, you put all them in the same pot. It's ridiculous. Mikel Beck, you know what I mean. It could attract the world's best. You know what I mean. And I think that world class bracket is branded out quite a lot now. Janino was world class. He was a World Cup winner. He was playing as a 10 in Brazil. You know, when Paul Merson came, he just came out of the World Cup squad.
Yeah.
He was a serial promotion winner with certain clubs. He played in the Premier League, and he could just light up a room, and you know what I mean. And then the manager just had that aura about every time he spoke to someone that came and signed. If it wasn't for less money, it was ridiculous what the standard that he could keep. And you know what I mean. He's told numerous stories that that if we hadn't got those 3 points deducted against Blackburn, we hadn't got relegated that year. He'd agreed to bring in all these world class players, and I'm just thinking, like, we could have won the Premier League if we could have brought in those kind of players with the players that we had. We would have been an unbelievable outfit, you know what I mean? And who knows where that would have gone? And you know what I mean? Things happen for a reason. Get that, totally understand. And but you know what I mean, to be involved in that, you know what I mean, to still be playing and training with those guys, it's just absolutely fantastic. You know what I mean? Listen, we signed Ravanelli days after he won the Champions League. Like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous. You know what I mean?
It takes some power to attract a player.
You know what I mean? And he comes out and says that the only reason he signed was because of Bryan Robson. Brilliant. You know what I mean? Bryan Robson's our manager, so. You know what I mean? Like, listen, the club got put on the map because of the manager and those players that he brought in. And And it was exciting times, and full house week in, week out. We had international stars left, right, and centre. Players who won X, Y, and Z, and it was really exciting. And listen, we didn't win the trophies, we didn't achieve the things that we probably wanted to achieve, but it was a great journey.
Is there any of them players that stick out in particular as the best to play with? Because I'm sure as a striker, having Janino and Merson behind you must.
Yeah, listen, I think playing with Merce was exciting, because any time I made a run, he found me. That was just it was just, I think he loved playing with people who made good movement off the ball, and that was great. For me in training, I'd look at Rav and think, oh, wow, never missed a shot, scored every shot. He didn't smash everything with power. He would just caress everything in the back of the net, and the goals he used to score for Middlesbrough were just fantastic. The amount was brilliant, but the way that he had passion, I know it probably ended a little bit sour. With certain rumours about certain things, and the way that he wanted to leave, but he was a winner. He just won the Champions League. He smashed the Premier League in his first season. So to play in the Championships, Division 1 at the time, it was never going to work out.
No, but recently you actually did get back with some of the lads who were in that team. How did that feel to?
I felt young at 44. So that was exciting to see some of them. Obviously, Marco Branca, Gianluca Festa, Higgy, Merce. Some of the younger players are a little bit older than me. It was great. 25 years ago we got promoted back into the Premier League from that relegation. So it meant a lot, because that era, it was so important for where we are now, for that club to be where it is now. We had to get those kind of moments over the line, and it was an exciting time. We had some great times on the pitch, some amazing times off it, and moments that nobody can ever take away.
Of course, Middlesbrough was so close to your heart, and you've just recalled some of the moments that do stay with you to this day. But how did it feel when you did come to leave the club? Because with it being your home club, it must have been a big decision, but you feeling that the timing was right?
Yeah, listen, obviously the gaffer had left, and Steve McLaren came in. I wasn't given opportunities and trained on my own a little bit, so I made a decision that I needed to go and play football, and selfishly I made the right decision. I'm leaving family, I'm leaving friends, I'm leaving the area, but it needed to be right for me. And when an old manager in Lenny Lawrence makes contact, and some of the players, Graham Cavanagh was there, and some other players that I knew were there at the time, for me it was the right club at the right time. It just couldn't have been any further away.
Yeah, you had a few loan spells. Did you find it hard to find a place to settle after leaving Middlesbrough?
Yeah, listen, it's find that right place where you can settle in. I was at an age 21, 22, 23 where I needed to find the right place at the right time, find my love for that club, and I certainly found it at Cardiff. My loan spell was brilliant. Couldn't have worked out any better. Scored in my first game, scored 2 in my first home game, scored 3 in the following away game at Oldham, and I didn't really want to look back. It was I signed straight away after that game. Once we travelled back to Cardiff on the Monday, and stayed there. Made a young family there. My eldest daughter was born in Cardiff, and settled really well. Loved the area, loved the city, loved the country. Made some really good friends there, and ultimately scored the goal which made me so famous in that area. So it was I couldn't have made a better script. I couldn't have a better journey in that area, in that football club. So I've made some good memories there, and I love the area because of my family, and obviously the football as well.
Yeah, it seems like it's still a place that's very close to your heart, Cardiff. So I imagine you were quite happy when they managed to seal staying up in the Championship a few weeks back.
Yeah, listen, I've got good friends there. Some still at the football club, obviously some supporters. So it's a club which I hold right in my heart. Because of various reasons, family and football reasons. But I do hope that they can get that city back to the Premier League. It's difficult because Middlesbrough and Cardiff all seem to play each other in the Championship, which is it'll make a big thing of it on social media. So it's I do go hiding off social media for a couple of days. So it's nice to. It's nice when that draw does happen, but normally there's always something on the game. Normally Middlesbrough this time Middlesbrough needed to win to get in the playoffs. Cardiff needed to win to stay up. So there's always something on the game, which is always a nightmare.
The Andy Campbell derby.
Andy Campbell derby, and it's always on normally on someone's birthday as well. So it's always on a big game. I try to stay away. I have been to a couple. Normally I always got the ones here. I have been invited down to Cardiff a few times, but it's one of those that you don't want too many goals, but you don't want to celebrate if something happens because you don't look like the idiot from either club. So it's I just keep myself to myself and just try and stay neutral sometimes.
I think a 0-0 is probably the best outcome.
But it is, but never happens.
Isn't it?
Never happens. There's always a last minute winner or something.
Yeah.
Always something that seems to happen in the game, and it's always quite rife on social media afterwards.
I think the last Riverside game, Cardiff, it was under Chris Wilder. I think they were 3-0
down
at
half time. Yeah, I was doing the radio for Cardiff, and you got to try and be exciting. And Middlesbrough were getting back. I think we got back at 3-2 with 15 minutes to go. And to be fair, Middlesbrough should have got a result by the end.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough time for us at that.
Yeah, it was.
We'll come to how Middlesbrough are now in a minute, but scoring that goal against QPR to seal promotion to the Championship, that must have been one of the highlights of your career.
Yeah, listen, I don't think it gets any bigger. I said something the other day on social media about the best way to go up is in the playoffs, and people agree. Some people don't, and I've been there as a fan, been there as a player. I've lost playoff semi-finals. I've won a playoff final, and for me, there's no better feeling. No better feeling as a fan. No better feeling as a player to win at that moment, and that moment for me couldn't have been any better. You know what I mean? That goal in Cardiff is more famous now, 18 years down the line, than it was when it happened. And I think when I left, people said that he'll never be forgotten. People always say that. You know what I mean? You think it's a flippant remark, and that goal every year is more famous. You know what I mean? The amount of messages, the amount of people who tweet it, ring me about it, and still thank me for it. And every time I go back, it's hero status, and it's so nice because, listen, it wasn't Andy Campbell who got them promoted. It was a massive effort during the season.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to score the first goal and the last goal in that season, but I didn't play a lot that season. But I stepped up in big moments, and thankfully I played a small part in a huge effort from a group of footballers who, if we didn't get promoted that year, God knows where that football club would be right now. So we played a huge part, and I'm glad that personally that I was able to play my role.
I thought you could have hit it any better as well.
No, I couldn't. And when I hit it, I knew it was going in. And I spoke to Chris Day, who was the goalkeeper at QPR that day, a couple of times. And, you probably can't stand me because he sees that goal quite regularly every year. But listen, I knew when I hit it went in, it was fingertips. And the noise at the Millennium Stadium that day was just ridiculous. The party that night, which went on for probably 3 or 4 days, was ridiculous. It was just surreal. And when people said that goal will be remembered, you don't realise until it is down the line that how big that moment was, because like I say, that club was really struggling at the time. And if we hadn't got out that League One, the Robert Earnshaws, the Danny Gabardons, the James Collins, the Graham Kavanaghs, the Andy Campbells, who knows where we would all been, because the club weren't great financially. So we just needed to make sure that we got over the line, which was pleased we did that year.
Looking back at your career as a whole, what would you say is an particular highlight that stands out the most? Of course, that one's going to be up there, but then there's, of course, the Middlesbrough ones we've recalled about the Liverpool away debut. Yeah. But what would you say is your proudest?
I've never been able to pick one because it's so difficult. Many, there's so many. I think my debut for Middlesbrough, my first goal for Middlesbrough against Sunderland, which, ridiculous things. 2 goals against United, my goal for Cardiff, and playing for my country. Listen, there's a lot of people who don't probably see the country as a highlight. For me, it was the biggest thing. Yeah. I wanted to get an England cap. Wasn't fortunate to get a full cap, but I got enough England under-21 caps to make me enough content to fill a bus. Playing the European Championships, played with some unbelievable players. There's a famous picture which goes around with Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Emil Heskey, Steven Gerrard. There's nothing that I was so lucky to play in that game, which got us to the Euros. And nobody can take those moments away, scoring for my country. A moment which I deserved, and I'm so lucky to have, really.
He was just pulling that shirt on as well, that England shirt.
The national anthem, and knowing you're standing against another country who wants to hurt you, beat you. It's the adrenaline, the excitement, playing in a different country. Just those national anthems, just being ready to do it, and then going back to your club with the excitement that you've just done it. There's those kind of things, because everyone else is proud of you as well. The club's proud of you, your family's proud of you, and it's great.
Proud moment for sure. Of course, we're sat here as we're recording on a Thursday, the night after Middlesbrough unfortunately got put out to the playoffs 1-0 to Coventry. I'm sure you were there last night. What did you think of the game?
Oh, listen, as a fan, it's heartbreaking. But listen, moments like these happen in football, and I've been a Middlesbrough fan long enough to understand that I've been hurt before, and I'm sure I'll be hurt again. And there'll be some good moments. And for me, it's about being ready. And part of me is understanding that were we ready as a football club to go up, and will we be stronger for another season in the Championship and maybe go win the league next year, or go in the playoffs? And that's my half full glass at the minute, and I think I'm going down that route. And listen, we just didn't do enough in the 2 playoff games, and probably the game before against Coventry, the one where we drew 1-1 last game of the season. I thought Coventry were excellent. I thought they dominated the game. We were quite fortunate to get a draw, and the away game we were the best side in the first half. But yesterday we just didn't get going. Didn't have that plan B, so to speak. But listen, the manager's an excellent coach. He's got good staff around him. He's got some excellent players around him. He'll learn from what's happening, and like be exciting times. You know what I mean? New signings. You know what I mean? So let's just see what the future holds, and let's get excited. Let's get back behind the club, and let's keep filling the seats, filling the stadium, and let's get that atmosphere week in, week out. Because for me, the players respond from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some of them won't have ever sampled that. You know what I mean? Full crowd and excitement, and the flags and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So sometimes it can be quite a lot to take in. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? The players will learn from it and hopefully come back stronger.
Hopefully, I do think Middlesbrough can be in with a chance of winning the league next year.
Yeah,
Keep
100%.
Carrick, make some signings,
100%.
improve the squad, and then one thing I want to talk about with you, Andy, is management, because of course you came, you're coming off a recent spell with the Middlesbrough ladies. What did you take from that spell?
Like I said, I've been in non-league men's football. I've gone into women's football, and I've lost my job a few times. I've resigned a couple of times. It's something that I've really enjoyed. It's something that I still probably want to get my teeth into. Still, I've still got an appetite to do it. I've got my hunger back to do it. And listen, you don't become a bad player, a bad manager overnight. I think, you know what I mean. You just get moments that you need to learn from, and I've certainly learned from previous jobs that I've had, and I want to take those kind of experiences into something, whatever I do next. You know, and women's game is very different to men. I work with women at the role I'm doing at T6 at Trinity, with the best young players for me in the area. So you know what I mean, I'm very lucky to still what I'm doing, but let's see what the future holds in terms of next steps, I guess.
Looking to get back into management sometime soon?
Yeah, listen, I think when you come out, you want to get back in. I think the longer you're out, that you don't want to get back in. I think that's the mistake I've made in the past, that when I wanted to take a bit of time out to reflect and understand my mistakes before going back in, but then you leave it too long and you don't get that opportunity. But now I think this is the right time in the summer. I've had a few months to probably reflect, but now it's probably a good time that I want to get back in.
Fingers crossed we can hopefully see you in a dugout again very soon. Hopefully. And that brings us to a close. But Andy, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure to chat.
No, thanks for having me. Like I say, it's great to reminisce and go through all things and this platform, but no, it's a great show, and thanks for having me.
Thank you.